Big stack on the counter today, Comic Crew. Clark Parker here for ComicsQuick. Marvel just closed the book on its Ultimate Universe, except the last page says otherwise, and we need to talk about that. Thor's getting shipped into one of the darkest corners of Marvel history for an anniversary issue that sounds like anything but a celebration. And over at DC, one of the most hated villains in their history is finally getting dragged face to face with the hero he killed 20 years ago. 3 stories, then a quick lap around the rest of the week. Let's get into it. We start with Marvel, because Ultimate Universe, finale number 1 shipped today, and it's the issue this whole imprint has been building toward for 2 years. Every creative team across the line came back for one giant goodbye. Denise Camp, Chris Condon, Jonathan Hickman, Brian Hill, and Peach Momoko on scripts, with Alessandro Capuccio, Stefano Caselli, Marco Cicchetto, and Juan Fricheri splitting art duties across the issue. It picks up right where Ultimate Endgame number 5 left off. The maker's final scheme in motion, the whole universe on the line, and every hero who survived the last 2 years of this line throwing everything they've got at one last fight before the lights go out for good. Remember, this whole imprint started back in 2023 as a deliberate reset, a clean alternate Marvel universe built specifically so it could tell a finite story and actually end it, which is exactly why today's issue carries so much weight. As far as endings go, it's a genuinely stacked one. And then the actual last page undercuts the whole pitch. For 2 years, across interviews and solicit copy, Marvel kept saying this was genuinely it. The Ultimate Universe was ending, full stop, no asterisks. Then the final page of finale prints 4 words under the credits. The Ultimate Universe will return. No date attached, no format confirmed, nothing about whether that means the full line relaunching, a handful of specials, or folding into some future crossover event down the line. Just the tease sitting there at the exact moment the story's supposed to be closing the book. I get why Marvel does this. Nothing sells quite like the end, right up until the end turns out to be a comma instead of a period. But they spent months insisting this wasn't a fake out, and then put the rug pull on the literal last page of the literal final issue. That's not a twist. That's burning the one thing the word finale is supposed to mean. I loved this line. Hickman, Camp, and the rest did real work here. I'm just done taking Marvel's word for it the next time they say goodbye to something. Now to a Thor story that's really an anniversary present wrapped in razor wire. Mortal Thor number 14 doubles as Thor number 800 this August, and Al Ewing and Pasquale Ferry are using the milestone to have the serpent trap Sigurd Jarlson, the mortal identity Thor's been wearing ever since Loki killed him in battle, and the Rainbow Bridge wiped Asgard from Midgard's memory, in what the solicit calls the worst of all possible worlds. No hammer, no memory of who he used to be, just a trial he has to survive to even earn his way back toward Asgard. Ewing spent this entire second act treating that powerlessness as the actual story instead of a problem to solve in one issue, and issue 800 is where that bill comes due. The solicit's exact phrase, the worst of all possible worlds, has fans and outlets pointing straight at Earth 9591, the setting from Warren Ellis's 1995 miniseries Ruins, which reimagined the entire Marvel universe as a string of superhero origin stories gone catastrophically, biologically wrong. Marvel hasn't confirmed that's where this trial is headed, but if it is, dropping a currently mortal, currently powerless Thor into one of the bleakest corners Marvel's ever printed for a landmark anniversary issue is a genuinely bold swing. What I like is that Marvel isn't using the anniversary for a victory lap. Ewing spent this entire run making Thor earn every inch of godhood back, and tossing him into a Ruin-style nightmare instead of a parade of cameos says they're serious about that. My only worry is Ruins works because it's relentlessly grim, and an anniversary issue probably needs one moment that isn't pure despair. 800 issues in, Thor's earned that much. Over at DC, Superman number 39 ships today, and finally drags Superboy-Prime in front of the one fight he spent 20 years avoiding. Joshua Williamson and Dan Mora have Manchester Blacktrap Prime in a mental illusion built entirely out of DC's own messy history, bouncing him backward through old reboots, lost relaunches, and continuities he's never even read, with no way home until he plays along. And waiting at the center of that illusion is exactly who you'd expect. Kal-El, the Golden Age Superman, that Prime beat to death with his bare hands at the end of Infinite Crisis, an act that basically erased the original Superman from DC history for 2 decades. 20 years later, Prime's finally being made to stand in front of him again. What I like here is that Manchester Black's psychic trap turns relitigate an old grudge into an actual structural device instead of a nostalgia cameo. Readers get a tour through DC's reboot history, while Prime gets dragged toward the one confrontation he can't talk his way out of. My only worry is Prime works best in small, vicious doses, and a full issue of reboot hopping needs to land that Kal-El moment hard at the end to earn the detour. Williamson's earned enough trust on long game plotting that I'm willing to find out. All right, rapid fire. 3 smaller stories you need on your radar. Firefly is back in comics for the first time in 24 years. Dynamite's launching. Firefly #1 this September 2nd. Mark Russell writing with Lorenzo Ree on art. And the setup is pure Mal Reynolds. Serenity needs cash. Simon and Kaylee have to pose as a married couple to pull off a heist, and an old job comes back to bite everybody. Dynamite picked up the license after Boom dropped it last year, and they're already sitting on the Buffyverse too, so somebody over there really wants the whole Whedon shelf. Over in Infernal Hulk #8, the Avengers and the Fantastic Four head deep underground, hunting for a weapon that might be the only thing that can stop another full-blown Age of Monsters, with Philip Kennedy Johnson writing and Adam Gorham on art. Banner's corrupted side has been resurrecting victims into some kind of undead garden, and Scar finally steps back into the fight after being gone a long time. Issue to issue, this book has quietly become one of the three best things Marvel's currently publishing. And outside the superhero aisle, Dark Horse just put out The Art of Star Wars, A New Hope, the manga, a hardcover rebuild of Hisao Tamaki's 1997 manga adaptation, reassembled straight from the original artboards with a new translation, and presented right to left in English for the first time. Volume 2 lands in August, just ahead of A New Hope's 50th anniversary, pushed back into theaters next year. So that's the day. Marvel closed the Ultimate Universe and then unclosed it on the very last page. Thor's spending his 800th issue heading toward what might be his bleakest trial yet. And that's actually a great way to mark 800 issues. And DC just turned one of Superboy-Prime's ugliest crimes into a rematch 20 years in the making. Tell me which one you're more invested in. Marvel walking back its own ending, or Prime finally facing Kal-El? I read every comment. And if it really does turn out to be ruins waiting on the other side of Sigurd Jarlsson's trial, let me know how many of you remember the original. If ComicsQuick's earning a spot in your feed, the subscribe button's right there. Go support your local comic shop, grab those pre-orders, and keep reading comics. I've been Clark Parker for ComicsQuick. See you in the next one.